Do you have any idea how much that hurt?
Hey! We're recording the podcast! Shut up!
Good morning to you, wherever you are, because it is
Morning Somewhere!
for September 12th, 2024. My name is Bernie Burns, sitting right over there. I'm going to guess she's back at about 90%. I would say 95%.
Yeah, 90 to 95 is pretty accurate. I'm feeling largely recovered, and unfortunately, so is my voice. So gone are my dreams of husky female voicery.
Husky female voice. Can I be? I don't want to make fun, but here I go. Okay. I think when we're sick, like your husky voice, you love your husky voice. I think you think it sounds like Marilyn Monroe, like husky, like happy birthday, Mr. And more realistically, it sounds like happy birthday. So I'm glad to have your voice back. Sometimes when I go back and listen to early this year when I was having trouble with my voice, I went back and listened. Man, I should just get rid of that one.
How dare you? You're destroying my dreams.
If you can't handle me, my worst.
All right. Can I say I had a great sleep last night. Not to brag or anything like that.
Is it because I wasn't talking?
My sleep, I love your voice. I don't want anyone to think I don't love your voice. My sleep game has been on point lately. And I do this thing, I'm wondering if anybody else does it. I do this thing, the word I use in my head is skimming, where like I'm kind of awake and I'm going to wake up, but I have the luxury of being able to fall back asleep because I've woken up a little bit early. And I kind of go like, it's just like on the edge of sleep. And every time I fall asleep, I go right back to dreaming, like instantly back to dreaming. And the closest thing I can equate it to from like early in life is when you wake up and it was a really good dream or whatever, and then you're like, I want to go back into that dream. And that almost never happens, and you just go into some other dream. But I can do that and go in and out of dreams like 5 or 6 times, like by waking up, by like hovering on the edge of sleep. And I love that.
Sounds like speed dreaming. But it's interesting you mentioned the skimming and like almost like skipping across like a lake, because I don't know if you're aware of this, Bernie, but did you know that the World Stone Skimming Championships have just taken place here in Scotland?
There's literally nothing going on in the world right now.
Well, I can tell you what Sabrina Carpenter wore to the VMAs, but let's talk about
I can't wait for that.
Stone skimming first. Okay, it's very exciting. It was the 7th of September near Oban in Scotland. So,
Oban?
Yeah, so that's where the World Stone Skimming Championships are. So if you decide to train with stones instead of dreams, that's where you're headed.
I could be well prepared to this. This could be part of one of those dreams I'm having right now, where I'm like, this is how I discover I'm a stone skimming champion.
Then you're gonna wake up and it's going to twist a little bit when you go back to sleep.
Do you identify good skipping stones when you see them?
I do, largely because we have a 5-year-old.
Right.
And his definition of a really good skipping stone is different. It just seems like that's an interesting stone. And he goes, that's going to be a great skipping stone. And I'm like, no, that's not at all. So I think of them as round and flat.
Our son is the ray gun of skimming stones. He just goes for performance and not for technique. That's all that matters.
He thinks the splash is the most interesting part of skimming.
Since the beginning of time, kids are fascinated by 2 things. It works 100% of the time. If you can skip a stone across the surface of water.
Or fire.
No, what do you...
All kids are obsessed with fire.
Ashley.
What?
Do you want to talk about it? What do you talking
If the kids just find fire interesting.
Something I should know. They love skipping stones, and they love bubbles. I don't know what it is. Bubbles are always a sure thing with kids, little kids. The person who first figured out you can put soap in water and then blow air through it and make a bubble that floats, that person must have seemed like a god to little kids.
Fun fact, they were probably burned at the stake.
Can you imagine? It's like, what are you in for? Bubbles. I did bubbles.
I made bubbles.
Nah, it was my mistake. I should have thought it through, but I was doing bubbles. But Oban is down south. We actually know people from Oban. It's down southwest of Scotland. It's down there by Islay, where all the Islay whiskeys come from.
Yeah,
Which are
so
all
famous for the very peaty whiskeys. So if you've ever had one of those whiskeys that sort of like you can smell the smoke before you get near the whiskey, and then you taste it and you can taste the finest bog in all the land, that's a nice peaty whiskey. So like the Lafroigs, the Lagavulins, I don't normally like that type of whiskey, although there is one. Nick Offerman actually has a partnership with, I think it's Lagavulin,
right.
and I assume that's because his Parks and Rec character is really into Scotch whiskey.
Give me all the bacon and eggs you have.
Ron Swanson, but it's actually Nick Offerman, branded versions, labeled versions of Lagavulin. He's got one that's finished in a Guinness cask, which is interesting. But the one that you like it's finished in a rum cask, there's a lot going on there. It's a super peaty whiskey that is finished in a rum cask, but you like it because it's a little bit sweeter.
I do. It's just like a little bit of a sweet edge on the bog.
These peaty Islay whiskeys in particular. They are an experience. I would not start with one of those because it is like it's a glass of earth. Essentially, is what it tastes like you're drinking. And I'm not saying that in a bad way.
And it can be an enjoyable experience, but it's definitely not for everybody.
Not for everybody. Not for everybody.
Nick Offerman, by the way, I don't know if you've seen him recently, Bernie, because you didn't watch the last season of Umbrella Academy, did you?
No, when you say last season, you mean the previous one or is like last?
Well, sort of both. So the season is now concluded. The season that came out was a month or two ago.
Yeah.
Was the last season in the series. So the series is now finished.
The guy with the big body and the little head just kind of freaked me out in that show. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, no, it was a little bit challenging just from an overall graphics standpoint to pull off because he was wearing like a muscle suit essentially the whole time. So he had these turtlenecks on and it always felt a little bit awkward, like his head was just slightly too small. But he does actually get to shed that suit for a lot of this season.
Oh.
So maybe you'll get into it. It's also interesting season because it's about kind of Mandela effect and like this timeline has changed. Something about it has changed, and it's people getting like artifacts from another timeline. And Nick Offerman's character is the leader of those conspiracy theorists.
Okay, if you're just joining us for our current events podcast, let me recap the last 5 minutes of our show for you. We went from Marilyn Monroe to Dream Theory to Stone Skipping Championships.
That's current.
To Islay Peaty Whiskeys to Parks and Rec and Nick Offerman, and now we're in Umbrella Academy, ending up on alternative reality, Bernstein Bear Mandela effect stuff.
Look, I'm going to say that all wraps nicely into society and culture and current events. So I feel like we're just, you know what we're doing, Bernie? We're just skimming topics here.
I hope this isn't the first podcast for anybody listening to this. I will be honest, though, there's not a whole hell of a lot going on in the world today. We always talk about space stuff, but if you're super interested in watching a billionaire do something you will never get to do yourself, they're doing the spacewalk today for SpaceX. Theoretically, it's already been delayed once today. So they will be walking in space, spacewalking.
If you want to talk current events, cruise ship hit an iceberg.
What?
And it's way less eventful than it sounds.
Oh, I can see why that would be a super reportable headline.
It absolutely, right? You hear cruise ship hits iceberg and you go, I know how this story goes.
I also can't help but feel like this keeps coming up. I feel like we're just repeating everything from 100 years ago. Like even like politically and everything. We're going to try to stay away from politics today. Although I do have to say, side tangent here. At this phase of the reporting on the election cycle, they always start to talk about the swing states in America and the swing voters, and they do these interviews with people. It's like, well, what did you think of the debate last night? Have you made a decision? Like, I don't know. It's like, even like the headline article on AP News right now is debate was an eye-opener in suburban Pennsylvania, and presidential candidates are getting a closer look. And they're doing interviews with these like undecided swing voters. I look at these people and I go, who the fuck are you? Like, you don't have any idea what you're doing at this point in time. And like the whole election depends on these people, right? And it's just like, who are you? They just want attention, right? They must want attention.
Either that or, look, if someone came up to me and stuck a camera in my face and was like, who are you voting for? What do you think? I would be like, I don't really think anything.
You would just
because
walk away.
I do not want to engage.
No, yeah.
That seems like a recipe for disaster. No good is coming of me telling them what I think.
But these pictures of these like swing voters or undecided voters are always like they're thinking pensively about what they're going to do, you know? And I know it's a posed look that sells the article, but give me a fucking break.
Well, look, you know how it is with swing voters. They're just trying to figure out which keys they're pulling out of the bowl.
These are the people who go on a cruise for vacation. I don't want to make fun, but I have literally never read a headline about a cruise that made me want to go on a cruise. It's always some kind of disaster. Like they hit an iceberg?
Yeah. So this cruise ship hit an iceberg off the coast of Alaska.
They're always stuck in a port because there's some disease on board. I've never read a good headline about a cruise. But people go on them all the time. They must love them.
I mean, I heard a lovely, heartwarming story about some retirees who decided to live on cruises because it was more affordable than going into assisted living.
They do a calculation where they figure out how much money they've got left versus how much life they've got left somehow. And then it's just like, I've got enough money to just stay on a ship forever. That seems like hell on earth to me.
Well, but is it less hell on earth than assisted living?
I don't know. I've never done either. I don't think that's what the cruise industry wants to push. We're slightly better than assisted living.
Maybe it depends on the line.
But if you've had a good experience on a cruise, I want to hear about it because it does seem like they take care of everything. It's all good. You might hit an iceberg or whatever.
And that's very exciting for the afternoon. Fun fact about this ship, by the way, that hit it. We're just hearing about it now, but it turns out it finished its cruise.
Go figure. Didn't sink.
Came back into port and has now left on another cruise.
Yeah.
That's how ineffectual this iceberg was. I was picturing like this just monstrosity, right? There's you know how birds will occasionally fly into the window and leave like a bird-shaped dust print.
Yeah, they leave almost like a shadow when they hit it. It's really sad.
There's a photo online that's been colorized of the iceberg that the Titanic hit. And it's got this like smudge in it. It's
wait.
like
How did they
the
get a
ship
picture
version
of the iceberg that the Titanic hit? They know the iceberg?
They knew the iceberg. His name was Paul. And they took a photo of this iceberg afterwards, and it's been since colorized, and it's got this smudge in it where the ship hit it. And so I was expecting something monumental of that nature. It looks like, honestly, I expect a really disappointed and worried polar bear to be on this ice floe. It looks like absolutely nothing. I'm like, really? Can you call that an iceberg? Where does an iceberg start?
Right. What is it? That's a good question. What's the measurement of a berg? Is that the volume of ice? Like, I know about ice cubes, and I know about icebergs. What's in between them? When does a cube become a berg?
Oh, here we go.
Is there a spectrum?
There is a spectrum. Growlers are the smallest polar icebergs. So maybe they hit a growler.
They hit a growler.
And it goes, grr.
That's not what I think of when someone says I hit a growler. There's a growler in the water. Everybody out of the pool. So what are the other ones on there? There's cube, growler. Is there anything between a cube and a growler?
Let's see. Iceberg, ice shape, size, and types. Ooh, this is exciting.
There could be ice nuggets, ice cubes, ice growlers, and then iceberg.
There's growlers, bergy bits, small bergs.
They're making shit up.
Medium bergs, large bergs, and then very large bergs.
Did you ever want knowledge and then you get it and you're like, I don't want this?
And you're like, where's your imagination?
This is taking
like, I feel like with growler and bergy bit, they're onto something, and then they just ran out of steam with the naming.
This is how we're gonna curse everybody today. You'll be looking for your car keys later, and you'll be like, I can't find my car keys.
They're with a swing voter.
But then you're gonna remember what a nice growler is. That information will now be in your brain. But fuck your keys, they're gone. They're gone. All right, we'll bring us over to some real current events. What's going on with the VMAs? I understand that Chappell Roan canceled some concerts, much to the chagrin of her concert ticket holders, and it was to go to the VMAs instead.
Yes, so the VMAs, that's the MTV Video Music Awards. Those were last night. And let me tell you something, Bernie. Sabrina Carpenter wore Madonna's 1991 Oscar dress. And she looked stunning.
Okay.
Stunning.
You threw a lot of stuff at me there really quickly. Madonna was at the Oscars in 1991?
Yes, she was.
Okay. I'm trying to think what that would have been for.
League of Their Own? I don't know.
Maybe. But I don't think League of Their Own was an Academy Award nominated film. Wasn't like 91 the era of like Cher at the Oscars and stuff? Anyway, we're down a rabbit hole here. How did this person who I definitely know who she is, Sabrina Carpenter,
You
how
don't
did
know
she
Sabrina
look?
Carpenter?
How would I know? Who is Sabrina Carpenter?
You'll definitely have heard her music because you can't possibly have avoided it. She had the song of the summer, which was Espresso.
Oh, I know
and that
that.
was on like no matter what you were listening to or what you were watching, somehow espresso wormed its way into your brain.
You know, there's actually a conspiracy theory about that, where we'll link the article on Vox, but there was some conspiracy of that espresso was being pushed by Spotify. There's a term that's kind of risen up in modern language called an industry plant.
I do keep hearing that.
Had you ever heard of that term before? That seems like a modern thing.
I think the first time I heard that was about a completely different song, but it was a social media sensation song, and that was ABCDEFU. It's big on TikTok for a while.
I know that one.
And there was a story around that the songwriter, the artist, she basically took a challenge from her like TikTok commenters about what to write a song about, and someone in her comments did do one from the ABCs or with the alphabet, and so she wrote ABCDEFU, and then it was this huge hit and went absolutely everywhere. And it turns out that commenter worked for her label.
What a fucking shock. Well, that's the thing, is that's what a record label does, right? Is they push someone out. And the whole thing, like I said, we'll link this Vox article if you're interested in reading it. But the whole premise of the Vox article is that people keep getting served by Spotify this espresso song, no matter what else they listen to. This song just keeps getting served to them. This is from July 1st, 2024 is this article. And people are saying, like, she must be an industry plant. It's like, or the record label is just trying to push this person.
Right. And with good reason, too. She blew up. Really, she's had a meteoric rise. She's been successful. Now she's had a career on the Disney Channel and stuff like that. But then she opened for Taylor Swift for part of the Eras tour. And I feel like that's where she kind of like really broke out, and then had Espresso, which I think won Song of the Year at the VMAs last night, appropriately, because it's just gone absolutely everywhere. So if
that's like Chappell Roan. She opened for Jenna Ortega? What's it she opened for? Olivia Rodrigo.
Yeah,
sorry.
So close.
I know it was so close. Almost over there. So why is, like, first of all, why is Chappell Roan, who is having record-selling crowds at Lollapalooza, why is she ditching concerts in order to go perform at the VMAs? Are these things relevant? Do people care? Why is MTV holding music awards?
You mean because they're not having music anymore?
Yeah, the one channel I would go to on television, if I were to ever do that, where I would expect to see no music, would be MTV at this point in time.
It's true. So this is now just the TV Video Music Awards?
I guess so. I guess traditions don't die. Spotify should have Video Music Awards. YouTube should have video music. That's where everyone watches videos now, is on YouTube.
I mean, that is very, very true. But I feel like they're awards for the people who care about the awards sometimes, like a lot of other awards shows. And so they are able to get a lot of big performers who go and then do these amazing performances, promoting like their songs and their music and what they've got going on. And then other people can use it as an engine for discovery, like a lot of people do with awards shows. So they do still have value, I think.
Okay. And then I can go to like YouTube's music awards, and I can wear Kid Rock's tuxedos that he wore to the Pulitzers back in 1998.
Absolutely.
Did we ever find out why Madonna was at the Oscars in 1991?
No, but it was a dress that was custom made for her by Mackie after they collaborated on a Vanity Fair cover. So I can't tell you anything about her Oscars. I can tell you all about that dress. And Sabrina Carpenter
can I say
looked
something?
lovely
Can I ruin
in it.
everybody's day now?
Go ahead.
1991 was 33 years ago.
Shut up. Get out of here.
That's so fucking long ago. So fucking long ago. It's crazy. It's crazy. All right. Well, congratulations to everybody who won a Video Music Award from MTV. I'm sure it's going to make or break your music career. I think you're going to be great.
Especially Taylor Swift.
Especially
who's definitely needed this. Although I will say she did last night tie up the record with Beyonce for most awards. So, you know,
in like all time or in one evening?
As all time. So as an underdog, she's really coming up.
You know, it'd be a great interview to sit down with like Taylor Swift and say, just start naming awards you've received and see how many she can get that she even has. Like
how many she can specifically name. Like when do you lose track?
Well, I mean, what would she remember? Like maybe 25% of them at this point?
I mean, that'd be generous, honestly, given how many she's got.
All right. Well, who do we thank for today's podcast, Ashley?
I would like to thank our sponsors, Greg Aloisi and Andrew Estes. for this episode of our podcast. Thank you both for sponsoring the show on patreon.com/morningsomewhere.
And you know what? Just for the hell of it, you both get VMAs. Why not?
We're going to do a little heist and steal them from Taylor Swift. She won't even notice.
If you ever see a VMA, you have our permission to just nab it. You can just do that. All right, well, that does it for us today, September 12th, 2024. We will be back to talk to you tomorrow. We hope you'll be here as well.
Bye, everybody.